Welcome back, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast history. Although there are a lot of sales podcasts now, we were one of the first. I'm Bill Caskey.
And I'm Bryan Neal over here.
Yeah. So I don't know how many there are. I'd say there's probably 50 sales podcasts now. And if you listen to some of those, awesome. We'd love if you came back here and heard the truth. But no, there's a lot of them, but we were, I can't remember who was there another one that was
those two guys. Oh, what are their names? They were tech guys, tech sales guys.
Yeah.
They started a podcast and
it was kind of or sales roundup. We were kind of always like, it was just us and them. And then there was like another one, then there, and then now it's, it's in vogue. Is that what you would say? It's in vogue. We lost both of them in an untimely event.
The podcast was, that's one of those true crime podcasts. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Two innocent people with a podcast, or so they thought. This is the story of the podcast wars. You have to have that kind of deep mic, that NPR voice to do a true crime podcast.
Who's the guy on Dateline? Keith Morrison. Keith Morrison's setting that up right now.
Totally. It was a quiet time.
Podcasting in a simpler time.
Or was it? I love that. Right here behind me, this beautiful gated community. Quiet mostly.
It's that.
I love Keith.
You too.
It's the pacing and the interchanging of adverbs. It's just,
That's the only reason I listen to Dateline, because all those things are predictable, but you can't not listen to Keith.
Keith Morrison is just a genius. You can't. I can't not watch and listen to him. It's just genius. So, so I have a little pet peeve thing that happened to me last week at an event. What do you do when someone comes up to you in a fairly aggressive manner and says, "Hey, Bill, remember me?"
Oh.
And you have no idea who they are. And then they don't tell you who they are.
Yeah.
So it's very uncomfortable for me.
Did they say Bill or did they say?
No, they said wrong podcast host.
That alone.
Podcast host. No. Yeah. I just think there's a better way to do that.
Well, yeah.
And then if you see someone out of context,
right.
And it's like you haven't seen him for a while or whatever. You're trying. It's not that I don't remember you yet, but you just walked up to me. I haven't seen. And I'm trying. I'm searching. So when the first thing you say real fast is, "Hey, Bill, you remember me?" And then if I say no, then it's weird.
Yeah.
And it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean,
then I don't like not telling the truth. Like I don't, but then it was so fast. I'm like, or even
you lie. You lie.
Yeah,
but I can't place your name. Can't place your name.
I know. It was very uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do.
Or you throw out a city. Wasn't it Topeka? 85?
Oh yeah, of course.
Back to the Gentleman's Club. Yeah, I remember that.
So I think maybe the better thing that someone says, "Hey Bill, hey Bryan, do you remember me?" I go, "I don't, but do you remember me?"
That's good. Always have that chambered.
Just pull it right back. I don't know. I think
there's the right way to handle that is, look, Bryan, Bill Caskey, you don't know me or remember me, but I was in a program we did back 2 years ago, and
totally.
I was in a program last week.
Totally. I was on your Zoom call this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Be courteous. I mean,
I know.
I agree. I don't think people generally, though, are very aware of putting themselves in the shoes of the other. I don't think they're. I don't think that's a natural skill. Do you? I mean,
no, you're right.
When you're working with a client, and we're working with them on their messaging, and we talk about, make sure your message is relevant as it relates to the prospect, through the prospect's eyes. And so if we just go in there and say, well, we do this and we do that and we do this and we feature, benefit, it's not relevant. And so I think it's really hard to put ourselves in the other person's shoes in anything.
Yes.
And that's maybe a lost art. And I think when we do that, we just get better naturally, because now the person sees that we're at least making an effort.
100%. And it's just empathetic. And you can't go backwards doing that. Like if I said to you,
No.
hey, Bill, Bryan Neal, you probably don't remember me. We met years ago at a thing. And if you do remember me, he was like, well, of course I remember you. You were the one you sat in the front row of the thing. I'm
Exactly.
like, yeah. You're like, I remember you. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't think you would. Yeah. It's not like you're going to be pissed now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very strange. And I wish anyone listening to this, if you've done that, like, do you remember me? Don't say that. Do what Bill said. Hey, Bill, you may not remember me. We met a few years ago at a conference that you spoke at in downtown Indiana. Give me a little context. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all I got to say, I don't even need to acknowledge I don't remember you. I got to say, well, thanks for saying something. I remember that gig. That was awesome.
That's right. And now you're clear, you're clean, you can have a conversation. Totally. You're not thinking and getting minds in different places. I was listening to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the other day on a podcast. He's running for president here in the U.S. And I'm intrigued by his family history because he's one of the Kennedys. And he said, my uncle, who was John Kennedy, who was president in the 60s, said, you always want to understand the perspective of your adversary. And he says, when you don't, you will make really stupid decisions about when to go to war and what to do. He says, if you understand the perspective, it doesn't mean you agree with them. It just means you have to understand it. And I think that's the same thing here. We have to understand when we're making a call on somebody or we have a meeting and, there's some kind of drama, you have to understand their perspective. And then I think the right words come out of your mouth and you're not blindsided by something that you didn't know was there.
That's great. I didn't know he was running for president. Is he?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert Kennedy Jr. is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, good.
Yeah.
For the Democrats?
Pardon me?
Democrat or Republican?
Democrat.
I don't know that.
Well, you probably won't hear much about him because it's a long shot and he knows.
Yeah, right.
He's a smart dude. I mean, if he gets on the debate stage with any of these guys anywhere, he's like chewing them up because he is so well read and cited. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about an issue and something that happened to one of my clients here last week, and I want to get your feedback on it, and then maybe talk a little bit about preemption and how to not let this happen, and then also what to do. My client got a call from somebody they'd been working with for a few months. Everything was looking rosy. The deal was, like illegal and about ready to come out, and that's usually a positive sign. And they get a call last week that I don't have all of the details, but they get a call from the person, their contact, and said, we've decided to go in another direction, kind of out of nowhere. And so my client is like shell shocked, and he calls me and we have a meeting here in the next couple of days. We haven't talked through it yet, but I wanted to get if you heard that, obviously it happens consistently, but what do we do? And then secondly, how do we prevent that shell shockedness?
Yes. This is a really good topic. The surprise no.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had it happen to you. I've had it happen to me without question. It's just going along. It just feels right. Everything feels good. And all of a sudden it's 180. I think my head's going to the prevention first a bit. So I'm going to start there just because I want to think about the back half a little bit more thoroughly in 10 minutes. Can you think about something thoroughly in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think
Here's the prevention part. I may have said this on an episode in the past, but this is my little cheeky phrase that helps me with these things. And it's past a phrase. I'll give you the definition. So the phrase is, it's nothing until it's something. It's nothing until it's something. And then you have to decide what something is. And for me, what I've decided something is when my client's money is in my checking account. Yeah. And they can't get it back, meaning, we're past the point of a clawback or anything like that.
You have a lot of clawbacks.
I love the word clawback.
I do
it's
too.
Such great language, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we're gonna put a clawback clause in the old commission plan just in case this goes sideways.
It's so gentle clawback.
Nice. It's fantastic, isn't it? What a great warm word. I used to say, I'd say it's irrevocably in my checking account. That's a thing. And so, because until then, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Yeah. Contracts can be broken. People can get fired. People can leave. Companies can have we just had a client that had a really, really bad security breach that damage their cash flow to the point that it almost, and it's still in process, could potentially, not sink the company, but do some really, really bad harm.
Yeah.
So
their minds aren't going to be on.
No, hell no. They can't. And they shouldn't be either.
Right.
So, and we've got a contract with them. Well, guess what? It's like, doesn't matter. And the right thing to do is they don't need to be working. They need to be focused on, shoring up the operation. So that's the first thing is get clear on it's nothing until it's something. And what is your something? And then maintain that level of objectivity and detachment until that something happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my prevention piece. It's really internal, right?
I'm trying, but I can't do any better than that.
I know. yeah, you can't.
Well, it's just true. I mean, and I was talking to a guy the other night. I said, one of the challenges with sales professionals is they hire us because we're optimistic people. We are eternal optimists. And when someone says, oh, yeah, we're going to do business with you, to whatever degree they say that, how it sounds, we take their word for it and we're optimistic. And we go back to our manager and said, I don't know, but I think this thing's going to happen. I mean, I'm moving that from a 4.5 to a 9.5. And all it was somebody uttering words that really mean nothing, like you say, until the deal is totally closed, the money's in the bank and all that. So I think we could temper down our enthusiasm and optimism a little bit when we get into the sales process. I've got one client who has a person that works with them who's really optimistic, and it's gotten them in trouble a few times. And they become so eager, they miss things. They don't challenge the prospect, or they don't ask the question they need to ask because they're flying on cloud nine. Oh, this is going to happen. It's going to make my quarter and all that kind of garbage. And that's the death knell.
Death knell, for sure. Yes. What's your take on the remedy part? So your client got this call and you're going to be coaching your client this week. Have you thought about the direction where to take it there?
I think a night of heavy drinking is probably at hand.
See, I'm recording from home in my little lounge here, and we have this fun isn't that fun? A little hardcore is good. We saw that hanging up in a restaurant, and we thought it was fun.
You stole it?
Lounge we got. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I
stole it up from the restaurant.
My wife went to lake this weekend up at Wawasee, which is in North with some people, and one of their friends has a place up there, and just a girls' weekend. And I said, when all the girls got there to drive up, I said, here's what we used to do when we were in our 20s and we would go to Tippecanoe.
Yeah.
We would stop in Noblesville. There's a liquor store there that sells Miller Lite Tall Boys in a case, in a big, remember those big cases?
Totally.
And we'd get a 10-pound bag of ice, throw it in the case, go right there. No need for a cooler. We made do with what we had. And
that was gone by the time you got to Cicero, which is 10 miles further.
Yeah. And she goes, what about the driver? Oh, yeah, he drank too.
He was fine.
He was right there with us.
So funny. So true and sad. All the above.
It's a very, very true and sad. But it's times you'll never forget, never remember.
I used to crawl back, and my dad would have us crawl back and get him a beer while we're driving.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, go grab me a beer on the cooler. Sure, Dad. I didn't even. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, helping my dad out here, just helping him relax. Unbelievable.
That's funny. Okay, so where was I there?
What do we do? What do we do? What do you do for your client? Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the. I would say whatever you do is fine as long as it passes through the following filter, and that is if your pipeline was overflowing with abundance and opportunities, and you were totally detached to the outcomes, what would you say under those two circumstances? That's probably the right thing, because the tendency there is to go in and try to save it.
Yeah, right.
And your time for saving it might be over. Now, if the prospect says, hey, here's where we are, we were thinking we were down the road with you, but something else has happened. We've got somebody else coming in. We still haven't decided yet. Then I would say, well, let's get back in there and let's talk to them and let's find out what the real issues are. Maybe they haven't understood something, but if they say, no, it's over, I just don't think it's useful to go in and try to save it. If it's savable, it might come up in the conversation that you have, but the conversation is, look, I must have let you down. I'm sorry. It's apparently we didn't go over some things. Tell me a little bit about your vendor. Just be a human being here.
Yes. That's really, really good. You have to, and both of these, the prevention and the remedy of this are almost, I would argue, 80, 90% intrinsic to the salesperson themselves. The fix here of the, you know what I mean? It's not some tactical thing to go do. It's really about how you're showing up with your energy.
Yeah.
For starters. And you can't do anything if that's out of whack, like you said, like your client is overzealous. No. And the other thing I would say is when you, the phrase meet them where they're at is in my mind. So they say, hey, Bill, I get bad news, man. We're going to pause here. I know we were real close to getting a deal done here and going to move on down the road, but blah, blah, blah. It's just say, okay, it's okay. Like you said, human, like, all right, well, that's not what I expected to hear. So let's do this. If you wouldn't mind, just give me maybe a snapshot of what the discussion's like and what's going on, the strategy, the reason for the move. And then let's just see where that takes us. And yeah, if it's time to pause and back away, we can. If for some reason something pops in my head that I think, hey, could we do it this way? I'll probably bring that up to you, but I get where you are. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So a little context.
I think it's
and then just explore it. There's also a thing to think about when people say, hey, we've gone in another direction. I want to understand what that means because let's pretend I'm buying podcasting software. And the choice, the decision tree starts with, why do I need podcasting software? And then I decide I do need podcasting software. Then which kind of podcasting software am I going to buy? Well, if the other direction means I'm buying your competitors' podcasting software, that's one path. But if I've just decided, Bill and I talked, we actually think we can do this ourselves. Yeah. We don't think we need software at all. That's a totally different road.
That's correct.
And I think you need to figure that out. That to me is that big. Did you put this project on pause totally, or did you go with a different vendor supplier?
Yeah, going in a different direction is the most worthless reason ever, because it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
If they respect you even one iota, as my dad used to say. I have no idea what an iota is.
Oh, really?
It's like a small measure of.
Yeah, I love that.
If they respect you, they're going to say, well, look, here's what happened. Your price was 30% high, and we asked you to discount it. You said no, and we found somebody. No, okay. Well, you're right. You did. And I said no. So, I think they owe you that. And then I think, well, do they really? No, nobody owes you anything. But if there's any kind of relationship there, I think they should be okay with that.
Absolutely. And here's a mistake I think people make in this deal. And I don't even know that it's trying to save it. It's kind of like, losing a girlfriend. You get all desperate and needy. What could I have done differently? So people want to go, what did we do wrong? What could I have done differently? Is there anything I could have done it's very, very off-putting to me in that scenario.
And they're going to lie to you. Oh, no, you didn't do anything.
No, nothing. It wasn't. Oh, no, Billy, you did so well. Oh. In fact, you're the reason we were going to go with you in the first place.
If it hadn't been for you.
But now you're not. Now you're not. No, you got a great personality. You really do. You're going to find someone that's meant for you.
People generally like you. They generally like you. I'd say generally.
No, I just think, I think it's, so I think it's really important to not go down the path. People always want to know when they lose a sale, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that personally.
But also, I think that if you have a funnel that's overflowing with prospects and you've got a lead generation system that's putting people in front of you, what difference does it make?
Totally.
It's just another person. Totally. It's a person who decided they didn't want to work with you. Maybe it's a good thing, because maybe if you'd have gotten in with them, maybe the whole thing would have blown up and it would have taken more time. And maybe there's a universal acceptance that this was the right decision.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't benefit you, maybe it does benefit you long term.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great perspective switch. It's a great perspective switch to go like 3 months down the road after that surprise no, and have something else happen and go, God, I'm so glad we ended up calling that one off, because now I've got all these resources available or this extra time or delivery. Yeah, that's great.
They filed Chapter 11 and held out
seriously.
Their people. Yeah.
Totally. And you're on the hook for, and then you got to try to get money. That's really great.
All right.
That's really awesome.
Good for today. So the surprise no, let us know. Go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn to join our LinkedIn group. We have many tens of thousands of people there, and we love to hear from you on that site and in the stream. What do you think about this surprise no thing? Do you have any other observations or strategies or moves that you could make at that point? We'd love to hear from you.
Love it. Talk to you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.